welcome to Animation Station. My name's Tiasha Charles, and this is my wonderful co-host, Joseph.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show.
Hi! We have an amazing episode today. We are talking about cartoons who have a anime style.
hmm Yeah, and in the show we have two of us, people who love talking about cartoons and love everything about cartoons. Tiasha, someone who very leans to the side of a more American cartoons, and me myself, I lean more towards the anime style. I'm a bigger fan, but we both love cartoons and love talking about them. So this week we're kind of combining the both of our styles and looking at Americans anime and television shows that kind of take that anime style and put it into that influence.
That's right. And I have to say, I have one amazing cartoon that you're gonna love.
Yep.
It
This,
brings me back.
hmm Yeah, usually normally we pick two shows, but this week we're kind of just going to go with one for right now and save the others for another day.
That's right. So let's see. Who shall start first?
Well, it's always ladies first.
All right. Okay, guys. My cartoon is called Totally Spies. It's about these three teenagers: Sam, who's the redhead; Clover, who's the blonde; and Alex, who has black hair, who who were regular, regular normal high schoolers who live alone. Who, by the way, who are in one of those one of those popular schools that lets you like live alone as long as you like have good grades and stay in school. And they were just regular teenagers until one day they actually became spies, and and they worked together to stop evil and around the world, and it's actually really cool. And by the way, it started in 2001 all the way to 2004, and it was created by David Mitchell, who by the way back in the day was the king of media.
hmm
This is an amazing show, Joe. It's totally it's like a extra level of Kim Possible. Like the laser lipsticks and
hmm
like the makeup like turned into like little jet packs and stuff like that. It's super cute and like super cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, with most of it, it seems like, well, for starters, it's started in France. It was a French Canadian show. So one of the things that they have is both in English and French, which is a little different than compared to what we normally watch being English and Japanese for myself. So that's actually kind of interesting that it was a French Canadian show before and then eventually dubbed in English.
Yeah. In Canada, it was actually up to 3 to 5 seasons, which is actually weird because in America, we didn't have much of We have like close to like 6 to 2 seasons, and then they brought
hmm
it back in like 2000, like at end of 2004.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of different because looking at it, it has over 150 episodes, which is a lot, and that's a good run for a show, especially that time in the 2000s. But looking at them, it seems like it's their take on Powerpuff Girls because it is
Yes.
three girls and they're color coded, and each one has a different hairstyle, different hair color, and each one kind of fits like a certain uh, I wouldn't say demographic, like certain role, the way the character is played.
Right. Like for example, Sam is mostly like the leader and who's like super smart. She's like the pretty nerd. And then
hmm
you have my favorite Clover, who's like the popular girl and loves boys. And then you have Alex, who's like easygoing, but like she loves animals and stuff like that. So like their personalities are totally different, but it's amazing.
Yeah, and which is kind of funny considering that their names, like you have Sam, who's the leader, Alex, who is the tomboy, and then Clover, who's kind of, the more goofy, flamboyant kind, which is very similar to the Powerpuff Girls. Because who does that sound like?
Oh my god.
The only thing that's different is that their colors don't really match, or don't. Well, there is a red and a green, but there's a yellow, and they kind of swap the
Right.
green and the yellow. Because if the tomboy was green, they're just like, yeah, you're totally ripping us off. Because the leader is red, which kind of goes along with a lot of team superheroes, because the red always seems to be the color of the leader.
True.
Not just Powerpuff Girls, but Power Rangers, Superman, and a ton of others.
But the show is like so awesome. Like if you
Hmm.
actually like if you really watch the show all the way, yes, up to 6 seasons,
Hmm.
you start actually wonder like you actually start wondering, oh, are they gonna make this into a movie? Which they have. It's like 2 movies, like 2 to 3 movies. Um, but it's like, are they ever gonna bring this back again? Because they brought it back twice.
Yeah.
And are they ever gonna reboot it? A lot of people
Hmm.
don't want a lot of people don't want this to be rebooted, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
think it'll be good.
It depends on how it's received, and I think just a lot of since it's French Canadian who was brought over from American, I think maybe it would be more popular in Canada than it would be in America. So if it does be reboot, maybe they would try it out there first and then see how it's received and then maybe bring it over much like how they did before. But I find it interesting how their names are are unisex names, Sam, Alex, even Clover. I can see a boy having the name Clover. So I find that kind of interesting that they can kind of go their names are both gender neutral.
I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah, but but it's just kind of interesting because usually you don't really see that a lot in these kinds of shows where it's a superhero team of that sort in these sort of cartoons.
Right, right. Oh, but let's talk about their fight. The way they fight. It's like the most like. Okay, we one thing about these characters, they all have type of um, karate fighting style.
Hmm.
But if you go to each character, Sam is actually more into the whole karate thing than Clover and Alex.
Which is kind of interesting considering Alex is a tomboy. You would think she would be more of the physical type.
Right. I mean, she plays soccer and she plays volleyball and everything.
Hmm.
but yeah, I get what you're saying. She's not into the whole karate thing. I know Clover's not because she's a total girly girl. So
Hmm.
she'd rather go shopping than fight.
Hmm. Which makes me think, I'm like, why is she even a spy? Like
I
what
mean,
in the sense of the team, what is it that she contributes?
that's true too. Oh, there was one episode where she said she loves going on different, going to flying around to different places. Like it was one
Mm.
episode where she went, where all of them went to Paris, and of course, her being a girly girl, she loves the makeup and the clothes and stuff like that. And of course, Paris is supposed to be the romantic place on earth.
Hmm.
So she says she likes traveling. So maybe
Hmm.
that's a perk too. Who knows?
I guess. I mean, if they were to reboot it, I think she would double her double life would be the Instagram model, and that would be her cover. She'd be
Oh
like
my god.
these traveling Instagram people who always post their travels or the Instagram models, and that would be her cover while she's spying and all these. She has to go to all these exotic places for work to spy, but her cover is that she's doing a I don't know what the whole Instagram travel nonsense, which would be a good cover in a way. Like she's
Oh
like
my
this
god.
popular influencers, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
So like that, I can if they were to reboot it, like that's the kind of modern twist on it that I think they would have.
It is actually kind of funny. I mean, the most funniest part is that, well, besides them actually making this show in Canada, they actually based this show on Beverly Hill Girls in California. So so it's
Yeah.
actually kind of funny. But the number one thing is their emotions. Like when they show that, like when they get mad, they show like little tiny like chibi cute little like heads flying around their heads, or they have like the little cute little anger emoji like popping up like in the corner. Like they actually show some anime, like different types of anime styles when they like one of the either anime girls get upset or whatever, and it's like so cute.
Hmm. Yeah, because that's something that's always been a trademark in the anime styles is trying to over the top expressions of how the character feels. One of the biggest things that you always see is when they're either really scared or angry, or when they're trying to intimidate somebody, how their pupils get really, really small, and they have
Yes.
like this devilish like smile where it's literally from ear to ear, not just like a not metaphorical, but literally, it's just huge. Or sometimes their moods change where they get razor sharp teeth.
Right. Oh, I love this show so much.
Yeah, but being in this time period, what would you say was some of the context of the show? So you were saying that there were spies. In what way? Like, how were they spies? Like, what would be sort of the arc or the objective of the show? Like, what were some of the things that some of the bad guys and some of the things they had to do in some of these episodes?
Oh, okay. So like in some of the episodes, like they could be literally like walking to class or like opening up their lockers. The lockers actually suck them through, and they actually slide down into um their so-called office, or at
Mm-hmm.
least their meetup room, to meet this guy named I think his name is Jerry or Gary. I forgot his name, but he's actually like their boss, and he's a really cool boss. And he has this supercomputer that actually shows them and tells them like supervillains who had like a makeup company, and it like blew off because another makeup company like destroyed their company, and so they want revenge. Or like if one like figure skater like broke their leg and it's because of this person, but it's not really because of this person, but they want revenge anyway. It's all about revenge. So you
Mm-hmm.
have evil villains who are either teenagers themselves or adults who want revenge on another person because of either a company, money, fame, or like for example, one of the episodes where it was an old show that the girls used to watch back in the day, and apparently the superstar wasn't fairly treated. Well, he felt like he wasn't fairly treated, and so he quit and wants revenge um on the director, and so they kidnap the director, and the girls have to save him, and by destroying either the sets or turning everyone into swamp monsters or whatever, the girls have to like figure out what's going on. So it's like that type of like villains. It's all about revenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Everybody,
good.
and also everyone has to have a minion. It's all about minions.
Mm.
It's crazy, but I love it.
Yeah. No, that sounds kind of interesting. I mean, being in that era, the early 2000s, when the show was aired, you had a lot with the Charlie's Angels. Because looking at the artwork for it, like that's what it reminds me of.
Yes.
And also in the time of Spice Girls and Britney Spears in the early days when she was a teenager, along with Christina Aguilera, that whole Disney teen era that they were on, and also since they were based in Beverly Hills, you had the 90210
Oh my god.
and all those television shows where you can kind of get that influence or that kind of influence in that time of era. So that, I can see why this would be popular, especially during that time period,
like
considering what else was going on in America and around the world at that time.
like totally.
Yeah, a lot of pop groups. But I think it's hilarious because I think since this was originated in Canada but based off of Beverly Hills, I feel like with most people outside of the states, whenever they make something that's based off of America, it's just what they think. Like this is
Yes.
this is their mental. This is like the Hollywood's like projection of what Hollywood girls look like. Such as one of the things that it says that its influence was Clueless, which was kind of like this really bad perception of what Orange County or Beverly Hills girls acted like. So I see that, especially with Clover, how it's just that really
Yes,
bad
especially
perception.
Clover.
Yeah, well, that really bad perception that people have outside of America when they think of California, considering what we have in our own television and media.
I mean, it's all about us California girls with the makeup, and we talk like this and the coffee. Oh,
Yeah,
that is not true. I'm telling you this now. Well, it's half true.
yeah.
It's half true, but still, I mean, they got us spot on some stuff,
Hmm.
but not all of us are like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Now, I will say one thing: when it comes to these girls, they are boy crazy.
Hmm.
They are super boy crazy. Um, Clover has a an enemy. Well, I wouldn't say no. She's not a friend. I would say frenemy, but they're not really friends. It's actually a rival named Mindy, And actually, she actually found out that they were spies one time, and of course they did a Man in Black and freaking like erased her memory. But but that's Mindy. They actually go back and forth on who can get this guy or who can get this guy, or like, oh my gosh, I can become cheerleader. Like, it's literally still kind of a high school thing. Like, just like think about it without the spy stuff. It's literally just kind of like you said, 19.0, or Zoe 101, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just back and forth, like high school girly stuff.
Yeah, which I can see the appeal, and the fact that they are in high school as well kind of follows that anime influence as well, considering majority of all anime usually takes place in a high school
Yeah, that's true.
and characters living a double life, which kind of reminds me a lot of Veronica Mars. A little bit,
Okay.
considering like I see a lot of those influences, which was something else that was going on in the early 2000s as well.
A lot of stuff was happening in the early
Yeah,
2000s.
yeah.
Oh,
Right.
God. But I want to know what's your pick.
Well, this one is one of my favorites, and since we were talking about rebooting earlier this week, earlier today, I found out that they are rebooting this show, and I'm really excited about it because it's still one of my favorites. Something I watch all the time is the Boondocks. Yeah. This is a really great show. Something that started. It's an adult animated show that started really as just a comic book strip. It started as a comic strip, and then eventually got turned into a show and created by Aaron Magruder. Or Magruder?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, I was saying that right. But it's an amazing, hilarious show. A bit mature and kind of controversial, depending on your political views. Pretty much overall, what it's about is about this boy and his brother and his grandfather who live kind of in this white suburban neighborhood, and the family, they're African American. So overall, the show follows this kid named Riley and Huey and their grandpa, who's just named Grandpa, who they call Grandpa, but
Call him Granddad.
yeah, they call him Granddad. But this family, it's an African American family in a white suburban neighborhood, and it a lot of did 5 seasons. No, four. Yeah, four seasons, and you can find it on Adult Swim like all the time. And again, it's another earlier show that started in 2006 and ended in 2010, I believe. Yeah, no, 2005. Sorry, 2005, and it went on to 2010, and then they had the fourth season, which kind of showed up again years later in 2014, but it was just short 10 episodes, and it was kind of like a season that they kind of squeezed in there. It wasn't that great in my opinion, but they're coming back with a fifth season where they're kind of rebooting everything, so I'm really excited about that.
I can't wait either. Wait, do you think they're gonna reboot it all the way to like when they first move in?
I don't have a whole lot of information about it. I don't know if they're completely redoing the story or if they're continuing it where they left off. So if the boys are going to be older, because they're 10 in the show, they're 10 and 8.
Yep.
And so they have Huey, they're the Freeman family, that's what they're called. So you have Huey, who's the older one, who's kind of the main character of it all, and Riley, who's his younger brother and granddad.
Oh,
Robert
good.
Jebediah Freeman. Robert Freeman.
And we don't know how old he is.
No,
Like we
no.
really
Well,
don't.
they don't, like most of them. They don't really age at all. Like it just doesn't really come up. But the one thing I really want to talk about is how Regina King, who voices both Huey and Riley, does such an amazing job. She's one of my favorite actresses. And when at first I didn't know this when I first started watching it, but when I found out that she voiced both Huey and Riley, it was hilarious to me. And also, Granddad is voiced by John Witherspoon, who what some people might know, some of our audience knows, some of the older listeners, he plays in Friday.
He
He's
plays in a
Ice
lot
Cube's
of stuff.
dad. He's Ice Cube's dad in Friday. So just in case you didn't know who that person was or you didn't know him by name, just he's Ice Cube's dad in Friday, and that should let you know who he is.
Oh my god. I love this show so much.
Yeah.
And again, this is for older viewers, this show. So don't get upset if your kid watches this show and you don't know about it. This is literally, because this is the thing. They think because it's cartoon that,
Hmm.
oh, okay, it's okay for kids to watch. No.
No, this is an adult animation because with it being uh, the cat, well, it addresses a lot of the issues. Some of it is even relevant today with some of the things that
Yes.
are going on in our politics. It really talks about the African American culture, Black culture, and it kind of exposes it, but also it kind of makes fun of it in a way where a lot of the cast and the creator themselves are Black, so they're kind of making fun of themselves in a way about Black culture,
Mm-hmm.
but also kind of uh, playing that card of like, yeah, we know you people. This is what we know. This is what you people think of Black culture. So we're just gonna make it as ridiculous as possible, to where someone who doesn't really understand Black culture would be all like, oh, that's kind of what I see in the media. So of course that's what it is. So it's kind of funny where they kind of introduce you to Black culture, but also just go completely overboard where they think is like, we know people think this way. So we're gonna show them like, yes, we know this is what you think, and they just make it ridiculous. But overall, I just kind of like how Huey and Riley, they're just kind of polar opposites of each other. Where Huey, who's the main character, he was more of the civil rights leader,
Yes.
kind of in a way, because he's there's even an episode where he's all like, I'm retired. He's like, you're retired from what? Being a domestic terrorist.
Right.
Because
They call him a terrorist.
yeah, they call him a terrorist because he's like a civil rights activist, and we're and he's 10 years old. But Riley, he is like this wannabe thug, and he's only 8 years old. So like he wants to be a rapper. There's one time where it's so hilarious where he's talking. He's like, I'm gonna be a blood and a crip at the
Oh
same
my
time,
god.
and it's just all like what, like why, and because he's always wearing, he's got cornrows. He always has cornrows, so that kind of does into it where he's wearing this white beater and baggy pants. And he's like, man, but he's just so funny.
But if you think about it, if you like really think about it, if you take Riley's braids out, you
Hmm.
kind of look like Huey.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're drawn exactly the same, pretty much, and that's another thing where this anime style, which is kind of similar to that of Spawn in a way, from the HBO series, where the faces are really intense and really detailed, and a lot of shading, a lot of black, the way the faces are drawn. But it's just really funny because just like in the simple anime styles, they're very expressive, and they even implement some kung fu in there. Because Riley, which is really weird, they never explain how, but he's like he knows martial arts, and he's like always kind of trying to like fight and fight kung fu. Grandmaster Bushido Brown, which is
Listen, Huey's the one that knows karate.
yeah,
Riley's the one that knows a gun, and he always gets his butt kicked.
yeah, he does. But even he like, well, there's plenty of episodes where they fight each other, and it's just kind
Yep.
of funny just how intense they fight. Where Huey, he obviously he wins most of the time because he's older, but he fights with martial arts. Where Riley, he just like fights more dirty and more like a brawler, kind of like a street fighter, and he just throws punches and like, fights dirty around the house. But uh, some of the favorite things about the episodes is how they address, as I said before, where they talk about Black culture and the use of the N word, which, depending how you feel about it or not, we'll we won't allow we won't really
I'm
go
sorry.
into too much of that and allow too much of that in the
That is
comments.
like the main word in
Yeah,
this
well,
show.
they even address that, and a lot of the episodes during that time in the late or in the early 2000s, 2005, 2010, of things that were going on during that time period, a lot of the episodes addressed what was going on in the news. So
Hmm.
so if you watch some of these episodes and you're like, oh, where'd they get that? Where'd they come up with that? Similar to South Park, in a way, to some of
Yes.
the, and we'll have episodes about South Park because that would be something within itself. But the way South Park takes current events and implements that into their episodes, Boondocks did the similar thing where they took current events and tried to implement it into their episodes. One where they were kind of even ripping off a news story, like almost word for word or exactly, but they just put their own characters in it.
Yeah. Like it was, I think it was one episode where, actually it was a lot of episodes, but it was one episode where um they were making, it was like later on in the episode that they were making fun of Kim Kardashian, and
Yes.
and they had her actually, you know, date granddad, I guess, for the show or whatever, and she was getting her
Hmm.
butt pumped, so you know her
Yeah.
butt's
Well,
fake, and
I
oh
think it
my
was I
god.
think it was I don't know if it was Kim Kardashian, but I think it was it was a Kardashian, but I don't think they
Right.
could use her name like Kim, but I think it was like a cousin Kardashian or something
I put
who
it
was
this way:
trying to.
when you watch it, you know what it is.
Yeah, because that was the thing that was going on, the whole thing with the butt implants. So there's made episodes about that, and there was a lot of guest appearances on there. So there was one with like Al Sharpton, and I think there was one with like talking about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King,
Oh my
and
god.
how like Granddad was like, I'm related to Martin Luther King, and I was just like some of the. He's like, oh, I was the real activist, or
Right.
trying to take credit for Martin Luther King's work. And there was one with Tyler Perry as well. There was another episode
Oh, don't
where
start with that one.
they were like making fun of real people, and they had
Man
him
dressing
show.
up as a woman and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh my
because
god.
this whole Medea thing. So they were making episodes making fun of that. And and one of my favorite ones was some of the the person who the owner of the bank who owns the mortgage on Granddad's house, because he lives in a really nice house in a
Yes,
real nice neighborhood.
it's the granddad of Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie's like this white guy who used to be in the army, who's friends with Riley.
Mhm.
And by the way, he's his voice actor. Oh my god, I forgot his name. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
It's Eddie
But
Murphy's brother.
yeah. Ooh,
Charlie Murphy. There it
Charlie
is.
Murphy, yeah, who unfortunately has passed, but and
Yeah.
also his best friend, who's a white guy, a white blonde guy with cornrows, who's voiced by Samuel L. Jackson.
Which is amazing.
I it's yeah, because them two together is the funniest thing. Because seeing Samuel L. Jackson voice a white guy and just if you ever thought what Samuel Jackson would be like as a white guy, that's him, because he's just he talks the exact same way, says the exact same things, but he's white, so it kind of throws you off a little bit. You're like, what?
It's like one episode where like they're like trying to like rob a house,
Hmm.
and or
It's
basically,
Riley.
yeah, it's Riley's, but then they're talking to Riley, and like dude's like cursing, right? And he's like turns around and says, "Do you like some eggs with that?" Like, like wait, you're robbing my house.
Yeah, no, I think they were trying to steal Granddad's car. I think that was the episode.
Yeah, because they saw it on like Pimp My Ride
Hmm.
or whatever.
Yeah, and they just so many things, and one of the things that they talk about in the community was like rappers. So there's one with Gangstalicious.
Oh,
Gangstalicious like moves in across the street from them,
yeah.
and he's just like blaring his music, doing all these things, and Riley's such a big fan. But Granddad starts fighting with him, and they start doing this fake beef because it's like getting popularity only because. But Granddad hates him because he's throwing all these parties. So they talk about it's like, oh, this is black on black crime. He's like, why are you hating on him?
He
Like,
even
why are you
had a
hating?
schedule. He even had a
Yeah.
schedule like, "Hey, granddad, you're gonna stand right here while I stand over there, and then we just gonna go at it." I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
And he
my
makes like a
god.
rap because like they have this thing about rappers beefing on each other. So Thugalicious, he creates this rap song making fun of Granddad, and then Granddad, he's all like, he goes to a recording studio and he makes a rap song about making fun of Thugalicious, and it's just really really bad. So it's really just talking about like all making fun of all these fake beefs they have amongst rappers and other Hollywood stars. So it's really great, and I'm just really happy that they're rebooting it
Me too.
because the art. One of the things that I liked so much about it was the artwork and the animations, especially in the action scenes, how the characters moved, how they fought, as well as the amount of detail that went into the characters' faces, because their faces are hilarious in some of the things that they do, like when shocked or angry or just like when they're yelling. It's really good, especially if anyone who's like really wanted to learn to draw, interesting characters or interesting cartoons, the way they draw their expressions, it's really good to study and also laugh. But the political aspect that it has with the show, the way it addresses black culture and things that are really relevant today, even, I think it's just a great show and that has a lot to say.
Some of it's good, some of it's bad.
Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but I
Mm.
just, it talks so much about other things. And one of the things that it addresses is this little girl who's kind of Huey's little girlfriend,
Jasmine!
Jasmine, who's a biracial girl whose parents is a black guy and a white woman, a
Tom and
blonde.
Sarah.
Yeah, Tom and Sarah, a blonde white woman. I should admit it that. But it's hilarious because they make this episode about Tom, how he's just
I know what you're talking about.
they're like, it's like, dude, you're white, Tom. It's like, Tom, you're white, and it addresses this issue of biracial children and also uh, how someone could be black and just act like a normal, because he's a lawyer, and so he's just like this really clean cut, successful person, and people are just giving him crap because like, where's your black pride, and like, where's your thugger? He's so like, and he's in his suit, and they're like, what? And they call him all these names, and he's getting hate from both sides, and it kind of addresses that issue that a lot of people face. That you know,
You forgot one character.
oh, Uncle Ruckus,
Yes.
which is
Mm.
oh I love his character design. Uh,
My name's Uncle Ruckus. No
yeah, so
relation.
so the concept of Uncle Ruckus is that he's this self-hating black man who I don't know. I mean, if you want to play a good drinking game, take a shot every time he says the N word when you watch
Oh
an
my,
episode
you'll be
of it.
drunk. Don't do it.
Yeah, or take a sip. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
the
remember what
thing,
he said? Remember what he
yeah.
said in one of the episodes? He was trying to say that he got the same thing that Michael Jackson had.
Oh, the opposite of
Mm-hmm.
Revertiligo,
Yeah,
it's called.
yeah.
Because he's like, I believe I'm a white man, but I got a vertigo. Because
Oh
that's what
my
his
goodness.
parents told him. Like his mom told him that he was white and that he had that. So he's kind of like this Republican, racist,
Yes.
uh, but really self-hating black person. But it's kind of weird because he's not really successful at all. He's like this person who has like 20 jobs, and he's always working. He lives in a shack, and he lives, the way he talks is like this southern, like Alabama guy who just hates everyone, especially black people. But
Well,
he kisses ass to like white people all the time. So
yes.
he kind of plays this role of like this plantation butler
Oh my.
for white people, and then just hates on and anyone who's non-white.
But it's weird because he's friends with Granddad.
Yeah, he's like his best friend, but even that, it's like this hate relationship because even Granddad is always like ripping on him. He's like, man, f you, f you, Rocket. But yeah, that is like his best friend. Probably because Granddad's the only person who's willing to tolerate him or put up with him.
That's true. Oh my god,
but
it's so bad. It's so
but the
good.
writing that's done for him is just hilarious. But
Yes.
I think it's really funny because some of the people that have watched it, they kind of feel guilty because they're like, should I laugh at this? It's like I feel bad for watching this. It's like, nah, that's fine.
Well, it's to me it does remind me of South Park too because they make fun of everybody. It's not just that certain that certain person or that certain ethnicity. It's not like it's that target on one person. It's to everybody. Because
Yeah.
it was one episode where they was trying to make Riley snitch on Eddie and his friend. I forgot his name. Um,
Yeah, the episode's called "Thank You for Not Snitching."
Yeah. And then they're like, why won't you talk to the cops? I love the cops. Like literally all the white people in the neighborhood are like, I love the cops. Why is he scared of the cops? I love the cops. And it's like, trust me.
Yeah.
If you knew what we know about the whole, cop and yeah.
hmm
hmm
Yeah, because which is something that I talked about that would be really relevant. So even after all this time, it still addresses these issues and it gives you something to talk about. Like it's a great show for discussion that allows people to talk about it. And I'm just really happy that they're bringing it back. They're rebooting it, and the art style is even more anime than it was before. So I'm really excited about
It's just amazing. He's freaking 10. He's 8. What the
it.
heck is going on?
Yeah.
It's like, why? They should be just
Well,
watching cartoons and riding their freaking bike.
yeah. Well, I mean, Huey, excuse me. Huey, he's like really intelligent and he represents the whole Malcolm X, Martin Luther King aspect of
That's
someone
true.
wanting civil rights and wanting to say like, hey, we're part of the problem. If we want to change and make things better, we need to first not make ourselves look so bad all the time. It's like we're doing it to ourselves. Like his whole thing was addressing uh, the concept of rap videos and how gangster rappers are portrayed. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, we're kind of the problem because it's like, how is anyone going to like us with lyrics like this? And Riley's all like, man, he's all like that stuff tells you how hard you are. He's like, I'm
Oh my
from the
god.
streets, and it's
I
just like,
remember I remember one song.
yeah,
It's like stomp them in the stomp 'em.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But it's just really hilarious, and I just like it so much because not just the cartoon style is hilarious and enjoyable, and something that you can really learn from if you're trying to be a cartoon artist or trying to draw expressions on characters. But the type of message and social issues that it addresses in the episodes, kind of in a colorful, comedic manner, is also something that I think people can take from and listen to.
That's right.
hmm
Wonderful Boondocks.
yeah, and when it finally reboots and it finally comes back to us, we'll probably dedicate an episode to that where we talk about the new pilot and the new rebooted season.
Oh, before we go, I just have one question.
Mm.
Do you think in the reboot they're finally going to talk about Riley and Huey's parents? Because they
Oh
do not
yeah,
talk about it at all.
yeah. They're never really addressed about it, so it's tough to say exactly.
They talk about
Uh,
the grandma. We know that the grandma passed away,
yeah.
granddad's wife, but we
hmm
never talk about the parents. I want to know.
Yeah. Well, one of the things the voice actor John Witherspoon, he went on Joe Rogan's podcast and to talk about the show. So I haven't listened to the whole thing in its entirety yet, but they kind of address that. Maybe that's something that they talk about and address. But
Ooh.
either way, I just think that with this show coming back, it's going to be more relevant because it was a long time ago where the show ended, and some of the issues that have happened over the past few years, and especially social media being what it is, I think that they have plenty of we have given them plenty of content to
Yes.
write about based on what's going on in the world today.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be us for today. That's going to be everything that we have for today. We're just talking about two shows and some of our favorite anime style American shows that have been influenced by that of the anime style.
That's right. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we will definitely see you guys later and talk about another wonderful cartoon episode. So this has been Tiasha Charles and Joe, and we will see you guys later. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's Tiasha Charles here from Animation Station. Just wanted to talk to you guys about our wonderful company, Elite 23 Global, which is a creative place for creative minds. We have a wonderful board of branches, which is fashion, media, and even gaming. We have a team of creative minds coming together to make projects we always wanted to start, like this one. Also, come check out our clothing store called Elite 23 Shopping to check out the hottest and even cutest styles. If you want something new, come to Elite 23 Shopping. See you guys later. Bye!